What's going on, guys? Welcome to another episode review for Shenmue the Animation. This is episode 7, and with me, as always, I have Blue Spade.
This episode was, I don't know how to say this. I mean, it was an okay episode. It didn't. I don't know if you could say it really moved the plot.
It felt a little bit slow. So basically, the premise basically is, of course, as we learned in the last episode, the person that Rio was looking for, Master Li Xiaotao, is of course this woman, and he kind of has to he can't believe it at first because as the priest says, it's I think he said something like, it's so hard to believe that a woman could be like a martial arts master or something like that, and I guess she kind of proves herself to Rio by like kind of fighting him, and of course she's disappointed with Rio because she ends up kind of taking him down pretty easily.
So actually her real name is actually Shu Ying Hong, which is her actual name. Li Xiaotao is actually her alias name. I guess it's the reason why Rio was never able to find the actual person until like right now. But yeah, so he tries to spar with her, but he's not able to be a match with her, and she ends up sending him away after she realizes that he's not worthy of her help. So this leads to Rio asking the priest if there's any other way to to gain her support, and the priest recommends that he goes to like a martial arts dojo that'll teach him the way of the Wood. It's spelled Uude. So he goes to this academy, and then he meets with the master there, but unfortunately he gets turned away by the masters due to the fact that the master of the school is still haunted by a previous disappointment of a So Rio, of course, goes around the city asking if there's any other martial artist that knows the way of the Wood, and then Joy ends up running up to him and tells him about this street performer that ended up taking down a gang of thugs at a shopping mall. So Rio goes there. He meets the street performer. I think his name is I can't remember his name. I think it's Zhang Cho or Zhang.
It was something like that. Honestly, I don't really remember either.
So he meets up with this guy, and then of course the street performer does his usual performing shenanigans in front of a crowd, and of course Rio asks him if there's any way for him to teach him the way of the Wood, but of course he doesn't help him out, unfortunately. So he asks, and Rio decides to just leave and then just come back later. And then at the same time we see Ren going up to Joy if she knows anything about this Japanese martial artist, and then she directs him shopping mall she sent Rio to. So Rio goes back to the same shopping mall the next day, and then he sees the street performer being confronted by, I think, a gang known as the Yellow Head. For those that don't know, the Yellow Head is of course you could say that they're like the mad angels of this part of the story, because they're pretty much like this. You could say they're like somewhat the antagonists of Shenmue 2.
Yeah, I guess you could say that. Yeah.
So they met. So Rio and the street performer managed to fight them off, and then of course they end up running away before, but not before Ren passes by them without even realizing that it's actually Rio. So they have this conversation talking about the street performers' relationship with the headmaster of the martial arts, academy, and of course he gives his history about uh, about why he was kicked out in the first place, just due to him being like using his like martial arts as for more of a showboating thing instead of like an actual like whatever they're it's being used for. So he like Rio kind of goes back and forth talking to the street performer and the martial arts master, and of course they give their sides of the story of each other's relationship. So Rio, of course, goes back to the mall one more time. He ends up helping to fight off members of the Yellowhead again, and of course, instead of fighting off, I guess you could say their leader, the leader like directs his gang to to just depart for the time being, and then this leads to the street performer telling, I guess, imparting his words of wisdom and how the way of the wood works is like I think he mentions like a cat should not show his claws during a fight or something.
Yeah, which is like, I think it's like one of the tenets of the Wood. Well, it's like a kind of clues him into one of the tenets of the Wood, I guess. But Rio doesn't really realize this until later that, like when he ends up like talking to Joy, and it comes to the realization of what the tenets was.
Yeah. So the performer gives Rio a letter that is addressed to his old master. So Rio gives the master the letter, and then it pretty much like it closes out like the story between like the master and student. I guess for this part of the story, and then of course Rio goes back to the temple to meet up with Shu Ying again to tell him about the what was it?
We should also mention that there was another character that showed up earlier in the episode. I kind of forget her name. The girl with the broom. She's I guess she just kind of sweeps around the temple or something.
I forgot her name.
But she, I think it was Fang Mei or
I think it was Feng Mei.
Yeah. So she actually has like a conversation with
Shu Ying.
Shu Ying about how she had like cleaned her room or something because she thought it would need to be cleaned, and it kind of comes around to how of course, as we learn at the end of the episode, Rio ends up staying there. So I guess she kind of implies that she seems to know that Rio would end up staying there or something, I guess.
Probably.
But yeah, I kind of remember this character from the Shenmue 2. I just remember her being really annoying in the game, but her voice being really annoying. But that's probably just because I played with the dub, which was not very good. So yeah. But yeah, like you said, he does go back to tell Shu Ying that he had learned one of the tenets of the Wood. And basically he does eventually get she does end up leading him to a room where he's she says he can stay at least for like a or for however long, I guess, or I guess implying that she might end up training him. And we also kind of get some very brief flashbacks of her backstory, but we don't really have any context for him for these flashbacks yet.
Yeah, I mean, hopefully we'll get more context probably by the next episode, but yeah, overall, I would say this is kind of one of the weaker episodes since this part of the story started, just because it kind of dragged.
It felt really weird because like some of the other episodes kind of covered quite a few things within one episode, whereas this one kind of it felt like it slowed down quite a bit just to cover one aspect of the story.
It got a bit annoying with Rio just constantly going back and forth between like the same places over and over again until like he finally gets Shu Ying's approval to train at the temple.
Well, to be fair, this is how it is in the game, where you you definitely go back and forth a lot between different people and talk to various different people, and it's very much like that in the game. So I can kind of cut them some slack for kind of doing it that way. I think they definitely have like kind of condensed quite a bit of things for the first game and somewhat for the second, where you would definitely run around a lot more and ask a lot of different people about something. But yeah, for this episode, it felt like they kind of left a lot more of that in, where you're kind of Rio's going to some of the same people and getting the runaround, like getting sent back to somebody else, and just kind of going in between different people and asking questions and stuff. But yeah, I don't know. I guess I didn't mind it so much. I understood why they did it that way, but I can see why some people might be kind of put off by that. Even though that is kind of how it is in the game.
Yeah. I mean, it was an okay episode. It's just like I said, I just felt like this was kind of the weakest of the Shenmue 2 storyline. I think.
Yeah, like it definitely does get better once we get introduced to once Ren does properly show up in the story. And I think that's gonna happen pretty soon. But yeah, I don't have too much else to say about the episode. Like, I do agree it was like it's definitely one of the slower episodes. There is not quite as much plot development in this as there is in some of the previous ones. But I think that'll probably pick up in the next episode, especially since it's going to be episode 8, and there is going to be like 13 episodes.
Yeah, there is.
So yeah, I think the plot would definitely have to get moving along in the next episode. But yeah, I don't really have too much else to say about it. I don't know if you have anything else to say.
We'll have to see what's going to happen next week. Yeah, like I said, it's just not. Yeah, like I don't think the plot really progressed all that much in terms of what was happening in this episode. Hopefully, we'll get a lot more plot progression next week.
Yeah, hopefully. But yeah. So until next time, we will see you all later.